Welcome to Question It, the podcast where we challenge the status quo and rethink what we know about wellness and living our best lives. I'm Kevin, your host, guide, and sometimes guinea pig on this journey of exploration, understanding, and growth. In each episode, we'll dive into provocative topics, question long-held beliefs, and explore alternative approaches for meaningful change. If you're ready to step outside your comfort zone and embrace new ideas, you're in the right place. Let's embark on this journey together, questioning, exploring, and experimenting to make life a little easier and happier. Let's question it. How is Question It Redefining Podcasting? Episode 2. In this episode of Question It, we dive into how this podcast is redefining the podcasting landscape by utilizing Uchi for Podcasts, a revolutionary platform that enables listeners to engage and connect with me and others in private, guided conversations using the Uchi app. So one of the big problems that I see with podcasting is that it's pretty much a one-way exchange of information. There's a billion, basically, podcasts out there that are sharing great information, great content, great education, great entertainment, but there's no real way to engage with listeners. There's no real way to know how well your podcast is really doing, except for how many downloads each episode gets. That's pretty much the only metric, at least the one that I'm aware of, and I am new to podcasting, of course. But what if there was a way to really engage with listeners and have a two-way exchange of information, sharing, and collaboration, and really establish some connection? Because I really think that audience members want to connect with podcast hosts and guests, and I know that the hosts and guests want to connect with their audience, and there's no real way to do that right now. I mean, there's Facebook groups and things like that, and there's always reach out in the show with the contact information in the show notes, but how often does that really happen? I think we can do better with this, and that's why I want to use the Uchi app and the Uchi for Podcast feature. So Uchi is a social platform, not a social media, that helps guide conversations by using a question and answer format. Uchi, which is spelled UCHI, is a Japanese word that means in-group or inner circle. And the whole point of the app is to help you, the user, connect with the people closest to you and have a real deeper connection and relationship. One of the great things about the Uchi platform is that nothing on it is publicly available. It's extremely private, which is why schools and businesses and even government agencies like juvenile courts contract with the app in order to use it to help connect their people within those organizations. The two main rules on Uchi are you can only read your Uchi friend's answers, and you can only read a friend's answer if you've already answered that question first. So you have to contribute in order to consume, which is the opposite of pretty much any social media out there. On most social media, you can just scroll and lurk or be a voyeur and never really contribute anything, but constantly consume. But if you're not contributing and consuming, if it's not a two-way exchange, then how can you have a real connection? And I think that's a big reason why social media ultimately fails, unless you really go above and beyond. But let's not get into the exceptions. So by using the Uchi app with this podcast, I want to create a special uchiTribe, which is a fee-based feature of the Uchi platform, whereby the uchiTribe leader, which will be me, I can create my own questions that are going to be episode related, and I plan on inviting up to 9 people into this uchiTribe, that would be you, the listeners, to participate in a conversation around the episode that begins with the questions that I ask. And then you'll be engaging and reading the answers and commenting back and forth with the other members. So it'll be up to 10 people and up to 10 questions in this uchiTribe for each episode. And that's how Uchi for Podcast works, whereby the host or the guest creates an uchiTribe, invites listeners, and then they can exchange information, because I know you guys have a lot of great ideas and great perspectives to share. And ultimately, isn't that what we all want, is more connection and collaboration? And as a species, we just do better when we connect. We thrive when we work together, and we struggle in isolation. So with this podcast, the Question It Podcast, and using the Uchi for Podcast feature, I want to engage with you. I want to hear your ideas, and I'll be starting them with the question, but who knows where these conversations will go through the Uchi app. Okay, so that's really the goal, and that's how I think the Question It Podcast is going to be so different than any other podcast out there at this time, because we're really setting up a two-way exchange with our audience, with our listeners, through the Uchi platform. So I hope you'll go down to the show notes. It'll be a first come, first serve basis. You just click the link and sign up. And again, everything is going to be super private, so you won't have access to any of the other uchiTribe members' contact information, but you will have my email address, because everything on Uchi is done using an email address, which I think is actually even more private and secure nowadays than phone numbers are. So that's the goal of the Question It podcast, or one of the goals is to take it to a two-way exchange of information with our audience, with our listeners, and really dig deeper into some of these topics that we're questioning. Okay? So that is episode 2 done. Peace, love, and connect. Thanks for joining me on Question It. Remember, growth happens outside your comfort zone, so keep experimenting and embracing change. If you enjoyed this episode, connect with me in the show notes, leave a 5-star review, and request to join this episode's uchiTribe. Until next time, peace, love, and connect.